in terms of the work. My background, of course, is in coaching and integral psychology, and then I got into the work. And so I really look at inquiry through a lens where I can translate it into a professional environment, specifically for me as business. And so here we go. These are not just food for thought, they'll hopefully be mind expanding. And last time we also looked at some of this, but we're going to do another turn for people who are new to this. So what I want to talk about is, how do you think about the question, is it true? And what is it true really mean? And of course, last time we started here. So if you're just joining, we're having a little bit of an introduction to the concept of, or the question of, is it true? So are there 3 or are there 4 logs here? Or there's 3, is it true? What do you see? And feel free to participate.
Both.
Both, right. The answer is yes. So it depends on your perspective. Here's another fascinating one. Which way is she spinning? Clockwise or counterclockwise?
Both.
Yes. So does anyone just see her spinning one way?
I just see her clockwise.
Oh, no, she's just turned.
Oh, she switched.
Yeah, right.
So she changed.
Yeah.
Is it true?
Yeah.
So again, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So if you have not seen her change yet, look, or you want to make her change, look at her foot. And when the foot, the bottom foot, when the toes point backwards, that's the point at which it could go left or right. You see that?
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So what's the point of this? The tip of the iceberg. They say about 10% of what we observe, or even what we hear someone say, is objective fact. The rest of the meaning that we make is beneath the surface. It's made up of our subjective interpretations. Said differently, even if something causes us pain, it may or may not cause us suffering. So the suffering isn't in the facts. The suffering is in the story we tell ourselves. It's not what happens to us, it's our reaction to what happens to us that causes our suffering. And of course, this is what the work is for. So what I want to get to today is, when we say, is it true? What does the word true mean? And I think as we look at it in 3 different domains, this is going to help us make sense of what the question really is pointing to. And also help us to understand the mind. Where does suffering really come from? So the domain of objective truth, that's a different question, isn't it? Is it a fact? Did something happen or not? So if we say he left the garage door open, or he hit me in the face, is that a fact? Or is it an interpretation?
I think that's a fact.
Fact, right? So important, and it's important also because there are ways the work is misunderstood. So when I'm introducing this to a new audience, and for those of you who are new, this is going to help you also field the criticisms of the work or the misunderstandings of the work. So whether it's true or not, factually speaking, we could see it as right or wrong, morally. That's a different domain of truth. According to values we share or laws we have, is it right or is it? But whether it's right or wrong, does something inform me or does it affect me? Why does it bother me? Why does it cause me to suffer? And that's the domain of psychology, really, or you could say spirituality. Is it causing me to suffer in some way, and why, if so? So from Katie's world, we know this is the 3 kinds of business. Whether it happens or not, that's God's business, right? What you do to yourself, to me, or to others, and whether it's right or wrong, that's your business. But what causes me to suffer? It's my business. How do I treat you? And how do I treat myself? How do I treat others? So that's what the work is dealing with. That's the domain of is it true that the work is looking into. And of course, we start with judging others so that we can look in the mirror at ourselves. So if the objective world is about gaining knowledge generally, the work is about gaining self-knowledge. So as Katie would say, the scratch is on the lens, not on the screen, but we project it. And this question is super important. Does it inform me or does it affect me? If it affects me, then that's the temple bell that's reminding me that I'm projecting something onto someone else, and that can be a mirror for what I'm not aware of in myself. And that is my pain. That is my suffering. That's where the scratch is on my lens. Because otherwise I'm judging you for what I'm guilty of myself. And as long as I deny that, that's the pain that I hold within myself. You're there to trigger it, but it's something that's off in me. So why is this important for doing the work or introducing people to the work? What happens if we deny this realm of truth? We end up denying reality. And people who come at the work for the first time have a problem with that. Because imagine an abuse cycle where someone hits you in the face and you start questioning the fact. He hit me in the face. Is it true? Turn it around. Oh, he didn't hit me in the face. Maybe I hit him in the face, or I hit myself in the face. It's very confusing. So let's just let that be the objective fact, and then let's move to the meaning we make of it. And the second domain is moral relativism. If I question that it doesn't matter whether it's right or wrong, or it's wrong that he hit me in the face, is it true, or he shouldn't have done it, it leads you to believe, no, he should have hit me in the face. It leaves you incapable of making moral distinctions or speaking up when something isn't right or wrong. Of course, that's not what the work is about. So we can still know what's right or wrong for us or within a social contract, but still, whether it's right or wrong does not mean that it causes us to suffer or not. So there's something in me that I can take responsibility for that causes my suffering. But again, if everything gets turned around, the problem with that is people think you're blaming yourself for everything. So even if I question the thought, he hit me, it was wrong to hit me, but that means he hates me. And I turn that around, I hate me. Well, now it's like, oh, it's my fault. When in truth, turnarounds are to self and other again. So I just want people to understand there's something that we become aware of within ourselves that we can take responsibility for. And sometimes it means that if someone is doing something to us, they hate us. It could mean that we hate other people in that way. We're just like them. But it could also mean that we hate ourselves. And that's what the mirror is for. So once you find that out, then you can make it right with yourself. You can start to make amends. And that's what this process of self-inquiry is. Make it right from within yourself. And then, of course, speak truth to whoever else you need to speak your truth to. There's the parable in the Bible about, first of all, there's something in your brother's eye or your sister's eye. Before you point it out, remove what's in your own eye. And then you can see clearly to re-engage and support your brother or sister. So that's my speech of the day. And it's not, it doesn't have to change how you're doing the work, but just let it sink in. And as you go today, again, I would invite you to balance how much time you sit in the 4 questions with how much you move through the 4 questions and try on the turnarounds. So any questions about that? Does it make sense? Is it confusing?
Can I add something to that? Or maybe like, it's interesting that you just said all of that. I think it can be a sticky place when it is like he hit me, or like, you know, I hate myself, or what does that even mean? And for me, I had to go to the place where it's like, okay, well, if this is happening externally, it's happening internally. It doesn't mean that I deserve this treatment, because that is a place where it's like you can bypass your actual work because you're trying to be good in the name of being good in doing your work, or overdoing your work. Okay, it's all my fault then. I'm going to take 100% responsibility for this person hitting me instead of seeing potentially why I am around that person. I don't know if that makes sense.
It's so subtle, it's so delicate.
Yeah, it's a very, it's ornate too. It's like the work within the work. But anyway, thanks for addressing that.
It's such a delicate thing. Thanks for bringing it up. So for me, it's very easy to get stuck in that cycle of blaming oneself if that's how we're structured too. So even if he hit me and it wasn't right, where did I hit me?
Mm.
And it's the thing Katie talks about, the sign that says dog bites. It's like you go through the door and the dog bites you. You know, fool me once, shame on the dog. But if I keep going through the door,
Right.
that's when I'm biting me.
Right.
And that's what I can take responsibility for.
Right.
Even though it may
And,
not be right that the dog bites, or that fact that he did.
or like there's a sign that says the dog bites, and you bypass the sign because you think something else is going to happen on the other side of the door. You keep trying to get to something else, but then the dog just bites again.
But you think something else should happen beyond the door.
Right. Right.
That's your argument for it.
Or you think, but he won't bite me. I'm special.
I'm special. That's a really good
Or
one.
I'm the only one who can help him.
Right.
Yeah.
I
Go
have a
ahead.
way with dogs.
Or I don't deserve any better. Go ahead,
I don't
Pedro.
deserve any dogs.
Any better. Yeah.
So Nathaniel, if you were facilitating, would you do it and that means that, rather than going to he hit you? Is that true?
It depends, right? How new is he to the work? And generally, yes, I would, because otherwise you go into the turnarounds and you have to do that anyway. You have to interpret it into something metaphorical. Oh, well, he didn't really hit me physically, but what does it mean that he hit me? It means something else anyway. You know, he hates me, he disrespected me, he abused me. Even that one's tricky. He's trying to shut me down. He's trying to shut me up. Whether it's up or down, those work for me. Yeah. The facts belong in the situation. You know he hit you. What does it mean? Why did it bother you? Okay. So this is so rich, just to make meaning of the work in this way. And obviously those of us who are facilitators, it's endlessly fascinating, these nuances. And if you're new, let's do the work. There's a lot of wisdom on this call right now, I can tell you. A lot of facilitators and a lot of experience.